second rank in
No, first rank.
1970. He joined the Department of Malayalam, University of Madras, as a research assistant during 1971. He became lecturer in the Department of Malayalam, Calicut University in 1973. He received the PhD degree from Calicut University during 1981. The topic for his PhD was a critical study of Pidhiya of Kerala Paniniya. He retired as professor from the Calicut University during 2006. He is an acclaimed teacher, accomplished researcher, and excellent orator. He has published research papers in Malayalam grammar, phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, lexicography, translation, etc. He has successfully guided 8 scholars for PhD and 18 candidates for their MPhil degrees. He has participated in more than 100 national and international seminars and conferences. He participated in the International Dravidian Conference at Cologne University and Gundert Conference at Stuttgart University, Germany during 1993. Professor Panikkar headed the Department of Malayalam, Calicut University from 2003 to 2005. He worked as Dean, Faculty of Languages in Kannur University. He served as examiner in the UPSC and UGC examinations. He served as the UGC Emeritus Fellow during 2008 and 2010. His research was on ancient Indian phonetics. In 2012, he taught Malayalam for 1 semester at the Hebrew University, Jerusalem. He authored 12 books and more than 100 research papers. Let me quickly give the titles of those books. One, Sonamandalam in 1981, published by National Bookstall, Kottayam. Noam Chomsky, 1987, Vishwadarshana, Thrissur. Here I have to mention one more thing. He interviewed Noam Chomsky in 2001 when he visited Kerala, which was telecasted by Kairali television channel. Third book is Leeladalagam Samuhika Bhasha Shastra Drishtiyil. It's a translation in 1995, published by State Institute of Languages, Trivandrum. Four, Bhashartham in 1997, State Institute of Languages, Trivandrum. Fifth, Vakinde Valigal, 1999, Vallathol Vidyabhidam, Sugapuram. Sixth is Premier of Malayalam Phonology, 2004, by Kerala Sahitya Academy. 7, Bhasha Logam, 2006, DC book, Kottayam. Next one is Studies in Malayalam, 2006, Calicut University. Then Chidaripoya Simhanadam, 2006, Kerala Sahitya Academy. Studies in Malayalam, 2006, I have just told. Kerala Paniniya Pidhiga, 2012, Calicut University, which was his PhD dissertation. Pradishakya Pravesham in 2014, Vallathol Vidyabhidam, Shukapuram. Yendugonda Dolgapyam, 2015, Vallathol Vidyabhidam, Shukapuram. These are his books. Then he received a few awards. One is T.C. Chako Endowment Award in 2000 for his book Bhashartham. He won the Kendra Sahitya Academy's award for the translation of Poonan Thopa from Tamil to Malayalam in 2005. He was honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Kerala Sahitya Academy during 2017. When he retired from Calicut University, the Dr. G. Bala Subramaniam was a reader there. He organized a seminar. I also participated. Then the proceedings were published as Studies in Linguistics, edited by Dr. Bala Subramaniam. That was considered to be the felicitation volume for T.B. Venugopala Panikkar. Now I request Professor Panikkar to make his presentations.
Well, I should have spoken in Tamil. I know Tamil, but I'm not confident to speak on a stage or a meeting like this. So excuse me for switching over to English. Okay. All of you know something about Leela Tilagam. There is a translation of Leela Tilagam into Tamil, and a well-known book by S. A. Shanmugam on Leela Tilagam by the name Tamil Malayalam Mozhiyin Mudal Ilakkanam. I have the opportunity to translate it, well received by Malayalam audience. And Leela Tilagam is not exactly the grammar of Malayalam. It deals mostly with poetics, and definitely 3 chapters of it are on Malayalam language and grammar. Sandhi, etc. Is dealt with, because all these points are helpful for him to talk about the Manipravalam style of literature, which was current in Kerala then, and which has incidentally gained the mainstream literature in Malayalam even now to a certain extent. But Sanskrit words with Sanskrit ending has slowly disappeared, and very few remain now as a kind of archaism. But now we have a lot of Sanskrit words in our literature, and to a certain extent in our ordinary colloquial speech, definitely the standard spoken language, the language we speak on a stage and etc. Probably not to the extent that Kannada speakers have, not to the extent as Telugu speakers have. Still, we have a lot. So this is the tradition that we have inherited from the period of Leela Tilagam. And the period of Leela Tilagam is supposed to be 14th century. We don't have direct evidence for that. We don't know anything about the author, not about the commentator. It's written in Sanskrit language. The sutras as well as Vritti or the commentary or Vidu Virai is in Sanskrit, but refers to Malayalam, and quotations, examples, citations are from Malayalam, definitely Manipravalam style. He talks about another style of literature by the name Pattu, which is more akin to the Tamil literature of those times, and I will come to that. And his main intention is to describe the language as well as the literature, the style called Manipravalam. He is more concerned with that. And then he wants to declare or to establish that Malayalam has certain independence. As late as 14th century, we have, he was wedded to the declaration of the independence Malayalam language. Think of that. A lot of literature had already been written, both in Pattu style, more akin to Tamil literary tradition, and Manipravalam style, copying Sanskrit tradition. Still, he wants to declare that Malayalam has certain independence. It is independent from the closest ally, that is Tamil, which he calls in certain place as Chola Bhasha or Chola Bhasha, in certain other contexts Pandya Bhasha. Discussion have been very many to decide which type of language he is referring to as Chola Bhasha, which type of language he talks about as Pandya Bhasha. To me, it appears that at certain points he talks about Pandya Chola Bhasha, probably without any distinction. He means to say that in the 3 Tamil countries, that means Chola, Pandya, and Chera, 2 people talk one language, and the people in Kerala have a different language. That is his point. So he, in certain cases, talks about Chola Bhasha or Chola Bhasha, and in certain cases, he talks about Pandya Bhasha. I have a feeling that he doesn't make any distinction between these two. These are one and the same language, but the language of the West Coast, that means the Cheranadu, according to him. We don't know whether this is the very Cheranadu which is referred to in the early Tamil literature. Probably the Cheranadu came to mean this part of the country, Definitely after Mahodaya Jadas. Mahodaya Jadas we know about at least 8th century AD. From 8th century AD, the kings of Mahodaya became very strong and they succeeded in holding the suzerainty of all the part of the West Coast, right from not exactly the present Kasaragod, still little north and up to what we call Kanyakumari. But Kanyakumari district in certain period was under Pandya king, and in certain period it was under Chera king of Mahodaya. So this was the situation. So later on, the kings of Mahodaya claimed that they were the descendants of the early Cheras. We are not quite sure what relation they have with the early Cheras. But this is the period of the evolution of Malayalam language or the development of Malayalam language. So this author, the author of Leela Tilakam, talks, aims at declaring the independence of Malayalam language and literature, and then he has to compare Malayalam with Tamil or Tamil with Malayalam and say that these are the features of the Tamil language, but though it is very close, Malayalam features are different. He has to say that. So the prerequisite for declaring the independence is a comparison with Tamil language, and which is its closest relative. Right from the first decade of 20th century, the period of the rediscovery of Leela Tilakam, it was lost. It was nobody knew about it. Say, for example, in 19th century, Gundert, who wrote about Malayalam language from a historical point of view, did not know anything at all about this. In 1895, when author of Leela, Kerala Paniya wrote his work, he also did not know anything about that because it came to light only in the first decade of 20th century. So after it became well known, after the first decade of 20th century, people began to comment on it, translate it, and talk about it. And everybody who talked about Leela Tilakam could understand that he was referring to Tamil language and literature with a friendly manner in certain cases, in a kind of declaring otherness to the Tamil literature as well as language. But it seems, is well versed in Tamil literature and well versed in Sanskrit literature, logic, and Sanskrit grammatical tradition and all that. But his reference are various, and we decide that the work belongs to 14th century only because there is 2 or 3 references to the work by the name Unnanidi Sandesham in Leela Tilakam, and the period of Unnanidi Sandesham can clearly be ascertained because it refers to a war between the Venad king, the king of Venad, and the Madurai Sultan, which happened in Tovalai, the present, which is a part of the present Kanyakumari district. The Tovala war helps us to decide the period of Unnanidi Sandesham, and by that we can decide that Leela Tilakam belongs to somewhere the later half of 14th century. So many of his points are still relevant even after 600 years. One other reference that he makes is the essential chronological feature of Malayalam language, which he calls Kerala Bhasha, is basically Dramata Sanghatam, Dramata Sanghata Patham. That means now we can paraphrase it as Tamil phonology. Basically, Malayalam has the Tamil phonology intact, in spite of the influx of Sanskrit phonology in it. Sanskrit phonology is some kind of superimposed on it. It's still written. This is true even now. If you can filter off all the loan words from Malayalam, it's not very easy. If you can filter off much of it or almost all of it can be written in Tamil letters. Do you know that? Malayalam language, in spite of the influx of very many loans from very many languages, mostly from Sanskrit, still can be written in Malayalam script if you filter off all the loan words, which has been attempted in early 20th century by certain scholars. They wanted to write a kind of pure Malayalam or Pacha Malayalam. And this Pacha Malayalam, though they were writing it in the present day Malayalam script, could be written in Tamil script. So the Tamil phonology is the basic for Malayalam phonology according to him. And this stands even correct even now. And some of the film songs, even now, in spite of the Sanskrit words, can be written in Tamil script without any difficulty and can be read in the Malayalam way. When if you have a Sanskrit word here and there, if you have Sanskrit words here and there, you can't have it. You can't write it in Tamil script. We have this because we have sha, sha, sa, the fricative, and the voice contrast. Kaga, chaja, tada, etc. The contrasts are very many because of the loan words. We are not aware of the loan words. If you are historically aware of the loan words and if you can filter them out, it can be written in Tamil script. This point, Leelathilakam makes strongly and says that in spite of all the changes, basically Keralites are Tamils. And according to him, the good Tamil or the pure Tamil or the honorable Tamil is the Tamil of Kerala, Kerala Bhasha. Kerala Bhasha, here he says, in this context, I'm not talking about the language of Pandyas and Cholas. I'm talking about the language of Kerala, Kerala Bhasha. By which name? By the name Tamil itself. Tamil, Atra, Tamil is Kerala Bhasha, Nadu Pandya Chola Bhasha, Nadu Pandya Chola Adi Bhasha, any language which can be called Tamil. No, I talked about the language of Kerala, Kerala Bhasha. The name Malayalam was not in currency then. Malayalam during those days probably meant only the country and probably the people also. This is true with regards to English. English was not the name of the language. English language was the name of the language. And the people was called English. The country was also called English. Similarly, Keralites were called, the people of Kerala were called Malayalar. And the country called Kerala was also called Malayalam. From which period we are not quite sure. But later on, in segmenting or interpreting Malayalam Bhasha as the Bhasha or the language in this country, we interpret Malayalam, the language. So what was considered, what was a locative kind of compound was reinterpreted as a kind of equation type of context, compound. This is what has happened. So right from the early period when it was rediscovered, people were alert about the relation or the references in Leelathilakam about Tamil language and literature. And those with some exposure to Tamil could trace how far it is genuine, how to which sources he is talking about, he is referring about. And there were a few scholars like L.V. Ramaswamy who was at home with Tamil as well as Malayalam, and definitely Elaya Perumal and S.V. Shanmugam, who knew a lot of Tamil language and literature, could trace what is what. So much of what I am going to talk has already been discussed by them. I will try to add a little more. And the grammatical points also were known. And it is said that some type of literature or discourse was still called Tamil they are even now called Tamil. The commentary to the stage performance called Kudiyattam, the summary or the narration of a scene by Kudiyattam is a performance of Sanskrit drama, and it is performed in a highly stylized narrative form of performance rather than the original Sanskrit stage. It is parochialized, kind of narration is added, everything is depicted on the stage as if you are teaching that drama, teaching that drama. And after one act, a man comes to the stage and explains what has happened on the stage. People without the knowledge of Sanskrit cannot understand what is going on the stage. So a particular man of a particular caste with that particular duty comes to the stage and explains to us in a kind of stylized Malayalam, and this is called Nambiyar Tamil, Tamil of Nambiyar. This is called even now Tamil Parayuga, explaining it in the regional language, explaining it Malayalam language, explaining in the language of Kerala, it's Kerala Bhasha. Kerala Bhasha, at least in this limited environment, is called Tamil even now in the stage of Kudiyattam. Kudiyattam is Sanskrit theatre, regionalized peculiarities and all that, which is later on given birth to Kathakali. And the stage performance is commended on the story is narrated by Nambiyar, a particular people of particular caste, who does the drumming while Chakiyar also is interesting. The Chakai Kutu is referred to in Shilapadigaram. And who is Chakai, who does this? We can't say, looking only from Tamil point of view. And we still have a community by the name Chakayar, and who perform this kind of dance on the stage, this kind of enactment on the stage, etc. Part of it is kind of dance drama. Part of it is drama, interpretation and narrative. Part of it is kutu or exact explanation. Part of it is prabandha kutu. Explain it in simple kind of Malayalam language. And all this, all that has happened on the stage is explained by a member of the caste, Nambiyar, and he is the one who does the drumming also. So, author of Leela Tilakam talks about that. When we talk about the author of Leela Tilakam, there is a little confusion. It's written in Sutra style and is commented in simple prose in Sanskrit. And we don't have any evidence to say whether the author of the Sutra and the author of the commentary are one and the same. We assume, since we don't have any evidence for that, the author of the Sutra himself commented his own Sutra into this kind of prose rendering, explanation, examples, and all that. Is it clear to you? Am I clear to you? I think you are. And
yes, sir, it is clear.
Pardon?
Okay, you can talk.
No? You can even you can interrupt me and ask me a question. You don't have to wait for my the completion. Even while I am lecturing, because I have written it down everything, and I won't go astray. So you can interrupt me. You are free to interrupt me, question me, ask me questions, ask me doubts, ask me clarification, oppose me, and even attack me. Not physically.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. You can complete your speech, then we will ask questions.
That's one way of looking at it. You can even interrupt me and ask me. I won't go astray. But if you prefer to have the questions finally, well, nothing wrong in it. Well, then this is about the author and the commentator. Since you don't have any direct evidence to say that author of the sutras as well as the or the vritti are one different or one. So we assume that they are one and the same, and we talk about the order of Leela Tilakam or Leela Tilakakara as it happens in Malayalam as a singular person. And explanations are very many, and one sutra gets an explanation extended to several pages. And you have to refer to the context when we talk about Tamil. If you talk about certain things, this is Tamil of Kerala, and if you talk something else, you mean to say that this is the language of the Pandyas and the Cholas, the people of the Pandya and the Chola country. And then he talks about the Dravidianity or the Tamilness of Kerala. According to him, Keralais are also Tamils, because in a way, but different type of Tamil, because we know about the three kingdoms in Tamil speaking area, Chola, Chera and Pandya. And Cheras are none other than the people of Kerala. So Chera country is nothing other than Kerala. So by that tradition, this is a long tradition. Tamil Nadu Moovendar, he quotes Tamil Nadu Moovendarum Vandar. And Moovendar, among the three Tamil kings, one is definitely Chera, and the chair, and this is one of the quotations from Tamil literature. And he talks about Dramida. Dramida is nothing other than Tamil speakers, and then he puts the question: can we consider Kannadigas as well as Telugus to be the Karnataka and Andhra? Some scholars are of the opinion that Kannadigas as well as Telugus or Andhra people are also Dravidian. But no, I won't agree with that. I would vote only for these people, these three people, because, and he gives you some explanation. Before going into that, we have to understand that there was a kind of scholarly tradition where they had a kind of remote idea about the language nearness. There were people who considered that all these well-known 4 languages belong to one group in Indian context. They are different from the northern languages. They are different from languages in other parts of the world. They are even different from Sanskrit. So there were a set of scholars, even as early as 14th century, who considered these 4 languages to be very close. And they knew something about the nearness of the language, nearness of the structure, nearness of the vocabulary. And nothing about the correspondences we talk about in comparative in historical literature, nothing of that sort. But still, the nearness of certain words, which we have in Malayalam, as well as Tamil, as well in Kannada and Telugu, were felt by scholars. They were not blind to that. They were not aware of the language history. They were not aware of the branching of the family language tree. They were not. They were completely unaware of what we call wave changes and all that. They were completely unaware of the language context as we understand it now, or as it is described in comparative and historical literature, linguistics. But in spite of all these limitations, some scholars had a remote idea about a kind of relation. Don't call it language family. Call it whatever name you have. These 4 languages, according to some scholars, were very close. And to the order of Leela Tilakam, no, Malayalam and Tamil alone can be clubbed together in what he calls the Dravidian group. Dravida Bhasha, Kerala Bhasha as well as Pandya Chola Bhasha alone can be considered Dravidian. That means he felt the language nearness of the language of Kerala as well as the language of Chera Chola country, the Tamil, the present day Tamil and the Malayalam language. He felt the similarity. And then to establish a point, he gives you two arguments to support his point. Argument number one is their language are quite different from the language of Tiruvaimozhi. The language of Kannadagas as well as Andhras are quite different from the language of Tiruvaimozhi. Leelathilakam is an author. The author of Leelathilakam is an author who knows about the early Tamil literature, and he quotes at least a few lines from here and there from early Tamil literature. Definitely he knew much about Tolkappiyam. He quotes directly from Tolkappiyam. He refers to Tolkappiyam indirectly as Pandya Bhasha Lakshanam. And he talks about Tamil dictionaries, lexicons also, which probably were of thesaurus type. And those things he talks about. And he is quite aware of the different stages of language. And he makes a mention not to other piece of literature, but only to Tiruvaimozhi. Why? I have a feeling that he has a kind of intuition that Tamil, the early stage of Malayalam, is closer to Middle Tamil, what L.V. Ramaswamy had called Middle Tamil, rather than to Old Tamil. Old Tamil retentions are very many in Malayalam, but changes we share with Middle Tamil. He had a kind of intuition, not very ably expressed, not very clearly expressed. And probably also because he was also kind of pro-Vaishnavite in his approach. He makes a reference to so many deities in so many temples of Shaiva type. Shaiva temples he makes a reference to, but equally he is at home with Vaishnava tradition also. Somehow he prefers this Vaishnava text, Tiruvaimozhi. And probably also because the well-known commentary of Tiruvaimozhi, I don't know to which period it belongs, is written in Manipravalam style. And probably that also induced him to talk about that. And Manipravalam style probably is more among Vaishnavites than among Shaivites. And this may be one of the reasons. But definitely he makes a reference to a Middle Tamil piece of literature than to earlier Tamil. He was aware of Pettuttogai, Pattupattu, etc. And quotes their name here and there. But still he makes a reference to that. The second point is more important. That is because in spite of all the presence of Sanskrit words, the language of Kerala during 14th century is basically Madriga. Madriga is from the word Mada. Mada means mother. Madrika. Madra is the stem of Mada. And Madriga, the basicness, the Midasanghado Madriga. Our basic phonological system is Dravidian, more Dravidian than even Tamil, according to him. So, Dravida Sanghado Madriga, and this is what we have. That means he goes on explaining. That means all the fricatives are from loan words. All the voiceless contrasts because of the loan words. All the aspirated plosives are from the loan words. So, if you can filter them out, as I said earlier, you can still have the basic Malayalam written in Tamil script, probably during those days in Vatteluthu. So Vatteluthu agrees with Tamil phonology, and Arya agrees with phonology, Tamil phonology as well as with Sanskritic phonology. If you add Ra and Ya to it, and find at a later stage the short A, short O contrast with longer A and longer O were also established in writing system, in the Arya writing system, which slowly, this was kind of, it is called Kerala Grantham, in contrast with Tamil Grantham. The Kerala Grantham became our script later on with certain changes, added here, added some, and deleted some, etc. So this is in intention. Even if he was talking about the writing system, he means phonology because he talks about phonological peculiarities of Malayalam. And Dramata Sankhado Madhaka, in spite of all the changes, still we have, the Keralites have the Dramata Sankhadam, whereas Kannadigas as well as Telugus don't have it. Kannadigas have Gajadadaba in their native words, not in loan words. Ga in certain contexts, Gili, Savera Gilige onde koku. 1,000 parrots have only one beak. This is a riddle, and the answer is the Robusta type of fruit, plantain fruit. And Savira Gilige with Sa, and Onde with Da, Gili with Ja. That means voiceless contrast. But even in spite of all the loan words, voiceless and voiced contrast is completely absent in native words, even to a certain extent, except some overcorrected words. We still have it. We'll still have only the absence of voiceless and voiced contrast in plosives, absence of fricatives except sha, which can be traced to cha in native words. We have sha, very many examples of sha, initials also, but these are just traceable to cha. In between vowels, the sha can definitely be allophone of sha. So if you take that into view, his opinion about the Dravidianness of Malayalam stands still. And if you say earlier stage of Malayalam or the changes that Malayalam has, which it shares with Tamil, Middle Tamil, his first point also can be sanctioned. And I don't think that very many commentators could clearly understand that he was talking about the basic phonological system of Malayalam language. He was not talking about just script. He was talking about phonology, and still valid. And the Dravidianness he still retains. This was lost sight of even in as early as late as 19th century. And still he was considering only the 4 literary languages of the Dravidian family, in spite of the fact that he refutes the Dravidianness of Kannada and Telugu. He quotes examples, he quotes an opinion by certain scholars. This is quite important historically. If you think about the historical development of the idea of the Dravidian languages, this is quite important. In spite of the changes that we still have the naturalized loans in Malayalam. In spite of the thing, in spite of the changes, we still have what we call Arya Chidaivu. Arya Chidaivu's nativized, Tamilized phonological features of loan words predominantly from Sanskrit. And I have a feeling that Arya Chidaivu itself is an Arya Chidaivu. Arya Chidaivu is from Arya Chudi. The Sanskrit word, Sanskrit is supposed to be the noble language, the Arya language, not because of the Aryan race and all that. That was not known to them. Sanskrit was considered to be a superior language, so it was called Arya, the noble language. And Chudi is the corruption of the variation or the deviation from. The deviation from Sanskrit is called Arya Chudi. And this is made into Tamilized form as Arya Chidaivu. This is the word that we find in the commentary to Chidaindana Varinum Yendana Varaya. The commentators talk about Arya Chidaivu, not the author of Tolgapian. Tolgapian talks about Chidaindana Varinam. Though Chidaindana changed form or the nativized form occurs in Malayalam or Tamil, the Yendana as the natural Sanskrit word as such cannot occur unless it is in the Dramida Sanghada Vatam, unless it is in the Tamil chronological form. Chidadaram, for example, Varam, for example, though they are Sanskrit words, can be written in Tamil, can't be pronounced by Tamil speakers without difficulty. So they can be loaned as such. This is the view that Leeladhira, author of Leeladhira, also holds. Am I clear? So I'm talking about the presence of the Dravidianized or the nativized loans even now current in Malayalam. In spite of the fact that we can write Deva, we still have Tevar. Tevar has a slightly different meaning also. Tevar is the god of the temple in our locality. Then we can write and speak about Bali, the sacrificial ritual, Bali, and still we have Veli. Veli has a particular meaning. Veli means the ancestral ritual. Ancestral ritual is not called Bali, though it is written that way in newspapers and all that. We still at home, we talk about Veli. It is nativized form. And Shiva has Jada. We write about Jada Judam of Shiva. But in poetry as well as in ordinary speech, Shivan is Chadayan, Chanjadayan, Chada. Chada is Chada or even Chida, overcorrected or because of the Dravidian metaphony, can be Chida also. This is what has happened in Malayalam. In spite of the changes, in spite of the change in our writing system, in spite of the change of the overlaid Sanskrit words, in spite of the change due to the overlaid Sanskrit words, we still have this Dravidianized, even Arya Chidayu we have. Wait a minute. We still have Dravidian loan, Dravidian-like loan. Arya Chidayu we still have, with a slightly different meaning. So this is the effect of the Dramida Sanghada Vatam, which is still our basis. This is the effect of Dramida Sanghada Vatam, and that means it still continues. The hold of the view expressed by author of Leeladhira still continues as far as Malayalam language is concerned. And we have what can be called Urai Sutirangal, or the sutras that are interposed by the commentator or the author of the Vritti. In Vritti, we have a few sutras, which is not there in the original text or the sutra text. This is called Urai Chutiram in Tamil, and this is nothing other than the Vartiga. The commentators quote Vartigas. Vartigas are nothing other than certain addenda, certain explanation, certain development, certain complements, C-O-M-P-L-E, complements to the original sutra. These are also there in Leeladhira. One of them, very important among them, is nothing other than Bhasha Aja Prayasho Apamarajana Prasiddha. The language that we consider in Manipura literature is nothing other than the elitist discourse. Elitist discourse alone is considered as far as literature is concerned. We have non-elitist discourse, non-elitist way of speaking Malayalam language or the language of Kerala, just like any language for that matter. And the elitist discourse alone is predominantly, prayasha, predominantly taken into consideration as far as the literary style is concerned. So Manipravalam is a mixture of Bhasha, the regional language, and Sanskrit. Sanskrit with Sanskrit endings, Sanskrit suffixes, Sanskrit terminations, Sanskrit declensions and conjugations. More declensions, nominal declensions, than verbal conjugations. Verbal conjugations are very many in Sanskrit and cannot be very easily imitated also to fit the context. Here and there, Sanskrit verbal forms. Conjugations are also there, but predominantly Sanskrit declensions, nominal declensions, and here and there, a few Sanskrit politics are also known. And this is one of the content. Sanskrit is one of the content of Manipravalam. The other content, the predominant content, is that of Bhasha. Bhasha means the regional language. And what type of language we have? We have very many types of languages current. We have the regional variations. We have the social variations also. We are aware of the social variations as well as the regional variations. And he is silent about regional variety. He is quite conscious of the variety that is to be used in literature, which is nothing other than the elitist discourse. Abhamara jana prasiddha, bhashaja prayasho abhamara jana prasiddha. And I have a feeling that this is a kind of literal translation of Tolkappiyam, Sutra in Tolkappiyam. Can anybody cite that? A Sutra in Tolkappiyam. I think வழக்கெனப்படுவது உயர்ந்தோர் மேட்டே நிகழ்ச்சி அவர் கட்டல் ஆகலான. They are the people who write the poetry. They are the people who write the standard poetry and not the folk poetry probably. The standard written poetry is the creation of the elite. Uyarndor Mete. And who are these Uyarndor? Uyarndor are none other than Andanar, Arajar, and Vanigar. In some other sutra, in Purladhigaram, from that we can understand that Uyarndor is none other than Andanar, Arajar, and Vanigar. These are the Trivarnigas, which Leeladhiragam talks about. It is quite funny who were the Vaishyas in Kerala. And to determine who the Vaishyas, it's not very easy. Right from the early period, the Muslims as well as the Christians in the population or the demographic picture of present-day Malayalam, the so-called Hindus, come only equal to Muslims and Christians put together. They have very long tradition. Unlike other parts of India, even unlike northern Kerala, Muslims, the Muslim population came into Kerala much before that, and the Christians also. The Christian tradition, we hear, at least from 9th century AD, the so-called Kottayam plates. Not exactly Kottayam plates, because it talks about a church to be established in Kollam. And one of the man who certifies that this is genuine writes his name in Arabic script. Most probably this might have been an immigrant from Arabia. So many scripts are there in Terisapalli, copper plate. So the Christian as well as the Muslim tradition, they were the merchants, the predominant merchants. Others were also engaged in cultivation, engaged in merchandise, but still they were the people, they were the Vaishyas. So to talk about Trivarnigas in Kerala context, even in 14th century, is quite unfitting, because the third Varna is missing from this group, the so-called Hindu group. So probably he takes them also into consideration. They were also literate. Christians as well as Muslims were literate. Brahmins as well as people of royal family were also literate. But it is still more interesting that some of the lower caste people also, including Iyavas, were far more literate than even Nayars. Nayars are supposed to be Savarnas of the caste Hindu, but Nayars were not to that extent literate as the Iyavas. If you believe the the sources that we have from 18th and 19th century. There were some Richard Nair. There were some clerks in the royal palace and all that. But most of the Nairs were either landed laborers as well as farmers, and many were soldiers. So they never had the need for learning how to read and write. So they performed a kind of Vaishya work, and they performed a kind of Kshatriya work also, and they were considered to be Shudras. Even as late as 19th century, Nayar was considered to be Shudras, and they were Savarnas also. So the picture of Trivarnigas, in the classical Shastric mode, is completely absent from Malayalam, and he makes a reference to Trivarnigas. I have a feeling, imitating Tolkappiyam, not directly, he takes the key from Tolkappiyam and talks about Trivarnigas, Uyarndor, and he says that these are the people of the higher strata, and their language is to be taken into consideration when we talk about the language of Kerala or Kerala Bhasha with reference to the literature. He talks about non-literary discourse also, and he talks about the non-elitist language also, where many of the changes were still to happen in 14th century. For example, Mangai, Tenga, Manga, Kanji, etc. are still in use among the non-elitist people. The non-Trivarnigas or the lower people still make use of forms without nasal assimilation, but definitely with palatal assimilation. Palatal assimilation is not a defining feature of Malayalam. It is traceable to very many languages in southern branch of Dravidian, definitely to later Old Tamil or even Middle Tamil. So this is not a defining feature. So this kind of usages are also there in Patu style. And he raises this problem. Patu style has certain Tamil forms. We say, no, they are not Tamil forms. They are Tamil-like forms. Pandya Bhasha, Sarupyam. They are not Pandya Bhasha. They are just Pandya Bhasha, Sarupyam. He is quite aware of all these things, but he puts it in his mold. And the language of Kerala, the literature of Kerala has nothing to do with Tamil. It is independent. Even in order to talk about the independence, he has to depend so much on Tamil literary tradition. Then we had a Vazhakkenapeduvathu Uyarndormete Nigazhchi Avargattalana is imitated in Malayalam, in Leelathilakam. The literate are predominantly Trivarnigas. They are the people to be honored in literary discourse. Apakrishta, the others talk a language which is inferior to them. Apakrishta, Pamarajanavartini, Idara, Trivarnigamasvartini, the Ulkrishta, the higher variety is the one which is used by the elitist community. Then he makes certain words are there in Malayalam poetry. Say, for example, in Manipravalam poetry, like Kundal. Kundal means hair, not commonly used by people. They are there in Tamil dictionaries. So can't we call them Tamil? Kundal, etc. Can we not call them Tamil? Are they not Tamil words? This point is raised by him, and he opposes the view because there are certain words in Tamil literature and Tamil dictionaries which are not in current use, which are not in the current discourse, which are not in the ordinary discourse. He makes a distinction between the ordinary discourse and the specialized discourse, literary discourse, for example, and the speaking on the stage, etc., are specialized discourse. He makes a distinction between the Samanya Vyavaharam, the ordinary discourse, and Vishesha Vyavaharam, the specialized discourse. in specialized discourse, there are very many words which are not current in the common language. Correct? He gives the example Adu, Magadu, and Naduri, which are just quotations from some of the commentaries of Tolgapia, and even Tamil lexicon gives these examples only from Tolgapiam's commentaries, which was long lost its currency in ordinary discourse, still used. And so if Chola and Pandya people can have certain words, which are there exclusively in writing, in their specialized discourse. We can also have Kundal, etc., which are not there in the common ordinary discourse. So discourse can be either the ordinary discourse or specialized discourse. No sutra on that. These are there in the commentary as commentary sutras or Vartika sutras or explanations. And there he makes a reference to Ettutagi, Pattupattu, etc. They are Prabandhatmaka, they are creations, not the ordinary way of talking. They are creations of Cholas and Pandyas. Pattupattu and Ettutagi contain very many words which are not in currency in 14th century according to him. He points them out, quotes them. And they are, you have no objection to say they are Tamil words, they are Pandya Chola words. They kadu Pandyanam Cholanam cha Vishesha Vyavahare eva. They exist only in their specialized discourse, like literary discourse, speaking on the stage, narrating story, etc., not in the ordinary discourse. This is quite important. And this Adu, people, men, and Magadu, women. Naduri is a kind of measure, 1.5 nadi measure. And these three are referred to. And people have shown that these are from which source, mostly from commentators' source. And you are talking about, he asked the opponent, you are talking about grammar and dictionary. What are these? Grammar and dictionaries. They are quite important, no doubt. But what are they? They are nothing other than a representation, a mapping of the language use of people. Is it not quite interesting? This is quite interesting. As early as 14th century, a man says that neither dictionary nor grammar has no right to prescribe what is what in the language. They only map what is there in the language. This is quite interesting. This we understand mostly after the advent of modern linguistics. This point of view is explained by him. Say, Vyavahara Parambara, Parambaraiva Jnanare. Vyavaharam, or the discourse, ordinary discourse, we learn from our tradition, not from dictionaries, not from grammar. Dictionaries and grammars do the function of mapping them. So there he says, if Kundal is there in a piece of poetry where the characteristic Malayalam features are present, you call it Malayalam, say language of Kerala, Kerala Bhasha. If Kundal is present in a kind of piece of poetry where the Tamil features or the Panditoda features are in predominance, you call it Kundal of Tamil. So Kundal of Malayalam and Kundal of Tamil, forgetting whether it is the specialized discourse or the ordinary discourse. And here he quotes a few lines. Adallariñen Anuvananangan Madinyu Vachoru Kuringimala. All these features, the palatalization or palatal assimilation as well as nasal assimilations are present. So by giving this point, he talks about the characteristic features of 14th century or if you scan through all the examples that he gives, the author of Leela Tilakam gives, we can come to the conclusion that they are exactly falling in line with what author of Kerala Panini did centuries after him. except of course, that is quite interesting. The exception is quite interesting, except the personal termination problem. Leela Tilakam has personal termination in the verbs, except for third person singular. Avan and aval can have the verb varum, that too in future tense. Avan as well as aval can have varum, not me. Nan varum is not permitted. Nan varuvain alone is permitted according to the example cited in Leela Tilakam. Leela Tilakam talks only about the absence of concordance, person, number, gender concordance, or the pronominal concordance, to put in a nutshell. He talks about the pronominal concordance in Malayalam, and the absence of it is permitted only in third person, but he never speaks it out. From the example, we can come to the conclusion. Of all the 6 famous rules of the history of Kerala, the historical rules of Kerala Panini, the 5 have been prescribed by the author of Leela Tilakam. And probably the author of Kerala Panini gets everything from Leela Tilakam, and he adds this point, is quite important point. That means the neuter singular form is extensible to human masculine as feminine form in Malayalam. Adhuvarum is quite permissible in Tamil also. And this extends to Avan Varum and Aval Varum, probably in Tamil also to a certain extent. And then this invades all the persons and numbers. So you can have Avan Varum, Aval Varum, Adhu Varum, Nan Varum, Ni Varum, Ningal Varum, etc. All these forms can one and the same verb. Thus, this is why the concordance have completely been lost. It's a kind of analogical extension. This has not started. This has not in currency. This has just started at the time of Leela Tilakam. We have a few examples where the past verb with masculine singular without this concording suffixes after that. The so-called personal combination after that. Sabonithi Tudangi. Sabonithi Tudangi, in one of the examples. Pandat Sabonithi Parasharanativachi Tandatioda Vinayam Prathamam Tudangi. That Tudangi is there in the finite verb. That means in future as well as in past, in non-third person singular, the concordance is slowly getting lost because of the invasion of the third person singular. That too started from neuter. It's wonderful. The neuter singular gets the predominance. Isn't it wonderful? This has happened as regards to Malayalam in this historical process of Malayalam, which had just started at the time of 14th century, and the author of Leela Tilakam fails to note it. And he, from all the other examples, we can have all the other rules of Kerala Panini, all the other 5 historical rules of Kerala Panini, like nasal assimilation, palatal assimilation, certain suffixes getting eroded, certain suffixes.
Hello, Manikar sir.
Pardon?
Can you, Rajashayaram here?
Yeah.
Can you make it short now? Because
Yeah,
there will
why
be a
not?
question.
Why not?
Okay, please.
Pardon. It's 8 o'clock already. 8:11. Okay. Nothing wrong in it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the importance of Leela Tilakam, and he makes, by reading Leela Tilakam, what benefit do the Tamil speakers have, or the Tamil scholars have. Just one point. Some of the quotations he gives in his text are glosed also. Say, for example, Attamai Tholi Kudalu Vanage. This is a quotation given in Yaperingala Kadigai, and people have find it out. And the meaning for that given in Tamil is Aduginda Amai Bonda Toludayaval. Attamai Tholi is Aduginda Amai Bonda Toludayaval. It is funny, but Leela gives you a better example, better glose. Attamai for him is a bamboo which is just 1 year old. The tenderness of the shoulders, the curvature of the shoulder, the softness of the shoulder is also referred to the Attamai Tholi. He glosses Attamai as Andamula, or which is current in Malayalam. Andamula means bamboo which is just 1 year old. And it becomes Attamai. Attai is also current. Atta Tirunal, Attabeli, etc. is current in Malayalam. So Attamai can only be glosed as tender bamboo rather than Aduginda Amai, dancing shoulder, dancing bamboo. It's not dancing bamboo, which is compared to the shoulder. It's the tender bamboo that is compared to the shoulder. So reading Leela Tilagam, a Tamil scholar is also benefited. And a few examples are given in the paper by Elai Perumal. What beneficial will it be to read old Malayalam literature as well as Leela Tilagam to a Tamil scholar? And he gives so many examples. And Elangulam has given this, the commentary. You can have certain corrections to the commentary available in Tamil, on Tamil poetry, by reading the author of Leela Tilagam. He understands better than the later commentators, because Malayalam has not only changes traceable to Middle Tamil. We have a lot of retentions also. A lot of retentions, a few of Tamil words, which are genuine Tamil words, are quoted here in the end of my paper, which are given in Tamil lexicon. Probably Malayalam retains the older meaning than the meaning that is given even in Tamil lexicon. Much of them are absent in contemporary Tamil lexicon. Tarkala Tamil doesn't have many of those words. And few of them are still retained Malayalam. So Malayalam has retention and changes traceable to Middle Tamil, changes, exclusive changes also. And author of Leela Tilagam, though he was not aware of it, talks about the nearness of early Malayalam to Middle Tamil, talks about the exclusive changes of Malayalam also. In his own way, he was not aware of history. He can make history. He has argumentative value or evidentiary value as well. Evidentiary value more than his own points. Okay, but he's a wonderful author, no doubt. He makes a lot of references to. I have quoted a few more, but I will do later. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Panikkar. I'm Rajashekaran.
Yeah.
Now the time for questions.
Yeah.
Anybody can ask question either in Tamil, Malayalam, or English, and it should be very short. Yes. Please proceed.
Dr. Rajashekaran.
Yes.
Hello, Dr. Rajashekaran.
Solunga, sir.
Or comment. Yeah, can I?
Yeah, you can.
Hello?
Sir. You
Please,
can.
please.
Oh yeah, sure. Dr. Panikkar, I have a comment to make on your lecture. I am happy to see that you have mentioned about the discourse structure explanations given by Leela Tilagam, as well as the type of social stratification of language
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also the style differences.
Yeah.
My comment is about the use of Leela Tilagam at present or for the past century, I mean for the past decades. What exactly or how exactly Leela Tilagam was introduced, at what level, for what purpose? Can you say something about the use of Leela Tilagam in modern education or in modern communications and so on?
Yeah.
Maybe formal
In
or
BA
informal,
as well as
or
MA.
what type of
In BA as well as MA, some portions of Leela Tilagam is made use of in syllabus. But BA students or MA students don't look for the good commentary of Elangulam as Shorinada. They depend upon the bazaar notes. That is one thing. And all the portions of poetics, he talks about the language and grammar only in three chapters. All the remaining chapters are on literature. How exactly the words to be selected in literature, and what kind of poetry we have, what kind of similes, etc. are there. And here and there, even in those portions, reference to Tamil is there. Reference to Tamil literature is there. But predominantly it is Sanskrit. But these are completely
right?
Pardon?
You mentioned about Uyarandor Vazhakku as reflected in Leela Tilagam. Is there any contrast, either other stratified use of language other than Uyarandor?
No. In here and there, he makes a reference to the lower status, language of lower status, which lacks certain changes in the elitist language. For example, the nasal assimilation, Tenga, Manga, Kanji, Banji, are still current according to him in the lower status. They are much behind the changes. But in higher status, higher discourse, higher variety of Malayalam, higher variety of Kerala Bhasha, these changes are present.
Equivalents of Uyarandor for Tenga, Manga, etc.
Tenga, Manga, Kanji, Banji, Yadhigam Bhashande, Kerala, Hina Jayataya. The lower caste people, even now, talks Tenga, Manga, Kanji, Banji, etc. Whereas the higher people never uses that. They will use only Tenga, Manga, Kanji, Panji with nasal assimilation. But in contrast with Tamil, the palatal assimilation is complete, whether it is of the Uyarandor or Idindor, or the higher caste or the lower caste.
Thank you.
Ulkrishta and Hina. Ulkrishta and Apakrishta. Ulkrishta and Hina.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah.
So the changes in the spoken language of the elite has crept into the written literature, but not the other one. And he says, if that occurs in Pater, Tenga, Manga, Kanji, Panji occurs in Pater, he says, these are not lower caste language. These are Pandya Bhasha Sarupyam. These are not lower caste language according to me. These are just Pandya Bhasha Sarupyam. Keeping similarity to Tamil. They are not even Tamil. They are only similar to Tamil. And all the nine changes that Chayul permits, all the 9 changes that the Chayul permits as Neetal, Kurukal, Valittal, etc. are present in Pater. They are also not exactly as it happens in Tamil. They are only similar to Tamil.
Professor Rangan, sir.
Any questions?
Professor Rangan.
Can I? Is it here?
Not audible, sir.
Yeah, you are audible. Rangan, you are audible
Oh.
to me.
Yes.
You? Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
Why?
Okay,
Okay.
please continue, sir.
Okay. Very nice presentation, Professor Panikkar.
Thank you.
I remember the days you were reciting the old Malayalam poems when we were together in Delhi.
Yeah. I
So
was
it
singing
is a
only
nice
in
occasion.
Tamil film songs.
Ah,
I was
yes,
singing
yes.
only Tamil film songs.
Yeah, very nice song. One thing is the period of Leela Tilakam is probably from Middle Tamil, both Tamil and Malayalam taking innovation in different directions.
Yeah.
And another thing is it was a work of showing the identity of Malayalam separately. A grammar might serve that purpose also. So that is, you want to show, even though it shares many features with the early language, but it slowly goes to acquire more and more features showing the identity of that language, Malayalam language. So that way, that was a purpose of grammar, maybe. The other one is, just I want to tell you, you said that the Malayalam phonology is closer to Tamil phonology or Dravidian phonology. I see that in most of the Dravidian languages, including especially spoken languages, you have only the voiced and voiceless, not the aspiration as part of Dravidian languages. When we are reconstructing the proto-phonology, we have only the voiced and voiceless. So it means aspiration is absent in the spoken languages.
Yeah, that's true.
Not maybe in the literary languages.
Even the so-called Indo-Aryan languages, like
that's one thing.
Spoken Sinhali,
Yes.
they have lost the aspiration.
There is another one comment I want to make. Does it mean it covers both the language of literature and the spoken language, or it is only the literary language only? That is one question.
Probably literary language. Probably literary language, because Nigalchi Avar Agalana. They are the people who create literature.
So these some of the comments. Just I want to. I will draw your attention to the one thing. Why you were telling. So in Andhra, in Tirupati, now they give the original Tamil version of that Prabandhas songs, and the commentary was in Telugu. The literature was the original is in the Tamil language, that portion, but the commentary is in Telugu language. So they were using both the languages for this Vaishnava literature. This is just for your information. Thank you very much.
And then, in spite of his declaration of independence, he makes so much reference to Tamil. That is interesting.
Sir, I have one question, sir. Can I ask? Nadana Sabapathy, Professor Nadana Sabapathy. Sir, and did he talk about anything about intelligibility between Tamil and Malayalam? Intelligibility?
No. He never.
That
probably
means
it was not a problem then. It was probably intelligible both ways.
Because it might be a dialectal level, you know.
Yeah.
Because he never mentioned anything openly, transparently.
Yeah. And as far as my personal experience is concerned, Malayalis understand Tamil more than Tamils Malayalam. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes, you are right.
Intelligibility.
That is because Malayalam has more plus changes.
Yes, sir.
We have absence of nasal assimilation in Mangani, not in Mangai. So since we have Mangani, we know what Mangai is. We can very easily trace to Mangai.
Aye.
No, this is one example, just one example.
Sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm Pasumban from Madurai. Sir, how are you, sir? How are you, sir?
Fine, sir. Fine.
Okay, sir. I have one question, sir.
Yeah.
In Tolkapiyam, in the HVL, Sutra number 397, Tolkapiyar talks about Yerchol, Tirisol, Tisaichol, Vadasol என்று அனைத்தே செய்யில் ஈட்டச் சொல்லே. All words are for the poem. We have it. You know the meaning. Like that, any sutra is available in Vedadharagam. One question number one. Then, regarding the Silapadikaram, there is no evidence that Seran Senguttuvan's younger brother Ilango Vadigal wrote this Silapadikaram. Do you have any evidence this Silapadikaram is written by Ilango Vadigal? That's accepted. But he is a younger brother of Seran Senguttuvan. Is there any evidence? That's I want to ask. Then we have Seran Imaya Varamban, Seraman, Kanukal, Iramburai. We have a lot of Seramans are in Sangam literature.
Yeah.
Like that, he has any that Tila Tilakam quoted like this king because he poem also the Tila Tilakam has quoted many poems, many poetics also. Like that, any this king version also, is it available or not?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Number one, the Yerjal, Tirijal, Vadachal, and Danite, Chayurtachal is quoted in Leeladhalagam.
Okay.
Leeladhalagam, the Vritti part, the commentary part, and he explains.
Oh.
And the view that he has, this has different interpretations.
Okay.
Chandamul Chere, Damul, etc. has Chandamul Chair. How can Chandamul Chair can be interpreted? He accepts the view of Devachalaya and explains.
Oh.
And number two, there is no direct evidence for saying that the author of Senguttuvan is the author of Silapadikaram is the brother of Senguttuvan. No direct evidence.
Okay.
But it is argued even by Tamil scholars that there are certain Malayalam-like features in it.
Oh.
Yeah. For example, our Nachimuthu has cited very many examples in addition to what the commentators have written. The commentators talk about Malanattu Vazhakam, and Nachimuthu has cited a few more in addition to what is accepted as Malanattu Vazhakam. This is number two. And number three, what was the third question?
Seraman Anakal Irumburai.
Yeah.
Seraman Imaya Varamban.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No reference.
Seran Senguttuvan, like that. Yeah.
No reference to early Cheras. No reference to early Cheras. Even the later Mahodaya Cheras, no king is directly mentioned. Only the regional kings, or the regional kings like Venatu kings, who has defeated Sangramadhira. Sangramadhira Devivarma, who defeated the junior of the Pandya king, just like Arjuna has defeated his guru's son. Pandyam Vikramapurvagam Padayil Vacha Attipidichangane. It was a difficult war. Padayil Vacha Attipidichangane Pandeshaya Gudutu. He gave him and finally married the daughter of the Pandya king. Unfortunately, she won't be the queen because of Marimakatayam. Sasya Danayam Padman, an extremely beautiful girl, was married by him.
Oh.
So marriage between Pandyas and the so-called Chera king, the inheritance of the Venad king is not quite clear. Venad kings are called Yadavas in certain respects. Probably they are I kings, but at later stage they claim themselves to be Cheras. But they were not exactly descendants of Cheras. They were probably the vassals of Cheras or the subsidiaries of Cheras, and claim that they are Cheras. All the kings, all the important kings, claim some kind of connection to Mahodaya Cheras, not to the early Cheras. The descendant of early Cheras to Mahodaya Cheras is not quite clear. Definitely, Mahodaya Cheras were matrilineal. But early Cheras, we are not quite sure. They are assumed to be matrilineal, but we are not quite sure about it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question now?
Sir, one more, can I ask?
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. This is there any reference, sir? Because in Tamil we have diglossic situation, literary and other varieties. Is there any, whether it is from the Malayalam developed from this literary variety or the spoken
he makes a reference to the ordinary discourse and the specialized discourse. And the specialized discourse is the one that is written in literature, the one that is used in narrating stories on the stage.
Both are there.
Pardon?
Both
are there. And certain words are absent in according to him.
But in today's Malayalam also you have this diglossic situation. You don't have, no? Diglossic.
But we have the written as well as the spoken. Not to the extent that we have in Tamil, but still, it's not completely absent. Certain forms we find fault as being Achadi Bhasha. It is printable language. What does that mean? We have a feeling of diglossia.
Okay.
Why are you talking in a printable language? Achadi Bhashayil samsarikkalle. Please don't talk in printable language.
I see.
Achadi Bhasha, no.
Yeah, I can. Yes.
It's a kind of new.
No, it's already there. Achadi Bhasha means written language. We are speaking in written language.
Oh, I see.
Even on the stage, you can switch over to the spoken.
I see.
To a certain extent.
Okay.
But not in the written. So it is called Achadi Bhasha.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
And those who talk that are looked down upon.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, can I request Dr. Tannarasu to propose vote of thanks? Okay.
Thank
now,
you,
Dr.
Professor.
Tannarasu.
Thank you, Professor. Good evening, one and all. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks. First of all, I take this opportunity to thank the organizer for organizing special lectures like this on every week. On behalf of the Tamil Moliyal Sangam, I should thank Professor T.B. Venugopala Panikar, former head department of Malayalam, University of Calicut, for taking time to be with us today. Sir, your speech was inspiring and will guide the researchers further. It was very interesting and informative one. Thank you, Professor, once again for enriching our knowledge on this topic. I would like to thank Professor N. Rajasekaran Nair, former Director CS in Linguistics, Annamalai University, former Dean School of Applied Science, and former Head Department of Languages, Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science, for presiding over today's webinar. I wish to thank both the Professor K. Karunagaran, President, and Professor G. Balasubramanian, Secretary of Tamil Moliyal Sangam, for guiding the team. A special thanks goes to the coordinators, Professor Kamachi and his team, and Dr. P. Kumaresan and his team for taking care of the technical issues. And finally, we are very much indebted to for all the senior professors and scholars for making this session very interesting. And also for all the participants for taking time to join us and make this today's webinar a grand success. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Kamachi Cholunga ipo.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
പിന്നെ കാണാം.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
പിന്നെ കാണാം. Let us